Well, guys, it's now time for my week 15 picks, of the 2021 NFL season. Last week, I fell to 8-6 after having an almost good week last week. Oh my god, these last 6 weeks have been nothing but pain for me. So disappointed. So, of course, here's the updated regular season stands and the playoff stands at the season end of the day. In the AFC, it's the Patriots at the bye, with Bills at Titans, Colts at Chiefs, and Chargers at Ravens. And in the NFC, it's the Packers with the bye, with the football team at Buccaneers, 49ers at Cardinals, and Rams at Cowboys. And my Super Bowl pick right now would be the Chiefs over the Packers. So now let's get to my Week 15 picks. Hard to believe we haven't even had a team make the playoffs yet, although we're going to be getting there soon. So we start off tonight with a huge one in the AFC West, as it's the Chiefs at the Chargers. As the Chiefs won the last two. The Chiefs haven't beaten them since 2020, and the Chargers haven't won at home since 2013 when they were in San Diego. As the Chargers are trying to get their first winning season since 2018. So, of course, the Chiefs crushed the Raiders to sweep them, as they are definitely looking like their former self now these last few weeks. Now they're starting to dominate offensively and defensively, too. Their record might be actually a little bit misleading right now at 9-4, as they're definitely scary. As the Chargers, of course, last week crushed the Giants to beat their win total from last year. And, of course, they need this win because not only would they sweep the Chiefs, but that would give them the lead in the AFC West. So this is very huge for them. Like the last real opponent either of them have to maybe deal with at getting that division. Although the Chargers have beat them the last 2 years, and they beat them earlier this year. Earlier this year, they beat them more because the team was struggling. Remember, Mahomes threw a lot of interceptions, and their defense was terrible. But now they're playing much better, so I think the reality is going to set in now, as I'm going to pick the Chiefs for this one, and then Gavin's going to cry at me and blame me for when they lose. And then we get our first Saturday games, as we'll start with a big one in the AFC, as the Raiders are at the Browns for the second year in a row. As the Browns, the Raiders won the last three. The Browns haven't beaten them since 2014. So, the Raiders, unfortunately for them, the first time they're under 500 this year, as they had a scoregami against the Chiefs when they got crushed really badly right there. They're not going to be eliminated yet. No team in the AFC can be eliminated yet, but it's not looking good for them, so they need this win badly. Meanwhile, the Browns, I knew they were going to beat the Ravens, and they did it, as they're trying to still be in the playoff race as well. Now they're in contention to maybe get the AFC North as well if the Ravens struggle. It can go either way for them, as this game is going to be interesting to see. The Raiders are struggling, but they've always stayed around 500 so far this year. Likewise, the Browns, after that 3-1 start, when they fell to 3-3, don't you notice they've won and then lost the game ever since? 4-3, 4-4, 5-4, 5-5, 6-5, 6-6, 7-6. So, looking like not good for them at that moment with that streak coming up to lose. And then, of course, they did lose to the Raiders last year, remember, in a defensive slugfest. But despite all the factors maybe going against the Browns, I'm going to pick them still, as the Raiders have a lot of problems too with themselves. And at least I trust the Browns defense. They're playing pretty good, and they're playing pretty much balanced compared to the Raiders. And then we get to an even bigger matchup in the AFC, as the Patriots are at the Colts for the first time since 2015. As the Patriots won the last 6, the Colts haven't beaten them since 2009. And the Patriots, if they win and a couple other things happen, they will clinch a playoff spot for the first time since 2019. Hard to believe they would be back in the playoffs so soon after just a year away. So anyways, the Patriots came off their bye after they embarrassed the Bills 2 Monday nights ago, when they only passed 3 times. All they did was ran it, and they dominated. Very impressive turnarounds. They have the longest streak in the league right now of like 7 wins in a row now, I think it was, as they have an elite defense. Meanwhile, the Colts are also on their bye. When we last saw them, they shut out the Texans, remember, as they got above 500 for the first time this year. Now, this one is going to be tough for both teams, as they badly need it. Oh boy, it's going to be tough because the Colts got to go up against an elite defense, but as you can see, they do have a weakness. Their Russian defense is not good, and they have the second best Russian offense in the league. So if they were smart, especially since they saw what the Patriots did to the Bills, and they could do the same thing they did to the Bills as well, who are just as good as the Patriots, they should run it down their throats as much as possible. But still is going to be tough. Offensively, they're pretty much the same, but that defense of the Patriots is going to be very tough to beat. Oh boy, this one's a tough one to pick. But I think I might just slightly edge out the Patriots for this one just because of that better defense. But hey, I would not be surprised if the Colts did it. I mean, they did destroy the Bills last month, and they could do the same strategy that they did against the Patriots. So we'll see about that. Then we get to the Sunday games with the Cowboys at the Giants, as the Giants, the Cowboys, won the last one. The Giants haven't beaten them since 2020, and the Cowboys haven't won in East Rutherford since 2019. And the Cowboys, if they win, and I believe the football team and the Eagles tie, they will clinch a playoff spot and the NFC East for the first time since 2018. And the Giants, of course, can't. Actually, if the Giants lose, and I think a couple other teams, those 6 and 7 teams win, they would be eliminated from the playoffs. So it's still up in the air for them for that one. So the Cowboys got a very needed victory as they beat the football team pretty convincingly, as that was a huge tiebreaker they needed. Meanwhile, the Giants lost to the Chargers, as they just aren't looking good, to nobody's really surprise. I would probably honestly easily pick the Cowboys, but the Giants have done a good job against them last time they've played, remember. Even without that should be a concern. But I'm going to pick the Cowboys for this one, but just watch out for the Giants. They're not a team you can underestimate. And then we get to our Tank Bowl of the week, as Texans are at the Jaguars. As the Texans won the last 7, the Jaguars haven't beaten them since 2017. As the Texans, last time, I don't even remember. Oh, they lost to the Seahawks. As, hey guys, your offense got better. You're no longer last in every category. Now you're 31st in passing. Yay! But your team still sucks. As the Jaguars, of course, got shut out by the Titans last week. And then, of course, just as we found out last night, they fired Urban Meyer. So now, there's another dynamic to this too, with a different coach in play now. And that could hurt the Jaguars. But then again, as we saw, it didn't really affect the Raiders too much until more recently. So you never know what can happen. If anything, the way how Urban Meyer coached, how bad he was, maybe this would actually be an improvement. Especially when you got to go up against a terrible Texans team as well. So normally when a coach is fired during the season, I'm more inclined to pick their opponent because the teams are usually dysfunctional after a coaching gets fired. But the Texans are just so bad that I actually think I'm going to pick the Jaguars still to get this, despite the coaching change. Then we get to a big one in the AFC side again, as the Titans are at the Steelers for the first time since 2017. As the Steelers won the last 3, the Titans haven't beaten them since 2013. And the Titans, if they win and the Colts lose to the Patriots, the Titans will clinch a playoff spot in the AFC South for the second year in a row. Well, playoff spot for third year in a row, so that's huge for them. But it's going to be tough. Even though they shut out the Jaguars last week, the Jaguars suck. And remember, they're pretty much a terrible team without Derrick Henry. Meanwhile, the Steelers, they blew it against the Vikings. You were down 29-0 looking like terrible. But then you made this comeback and almost pulled it off, showing how much the Vikings almost choked as well. And that's why you cannot underestimate the Steelers, as statistically, neither team is really playing good. But I trust the Steelers more than I do the Titans, so I'm going to pick the Steelers for this one. Alright, then we get to more 1 p.m. action, as it's the Jets at the Dolphins, as the Dolphins won the last 3. The Jets haven't beaten them since 2019, and they haven't won in Miami since 2015, even though technically that was in London. So, of course, the Jets got already eliminated as they got crushed by the Saints. No one's really surprised about that, pretty much, as the Dolphins... who did the Dolphins play again? It won't come to my head, because I'm a freaking idiot. But I know they've won 5 in a row. No, 6 in a row. No, 5 in a row. I'm a dumbass. So they've won 5 in a row now, and are right on the verge of getting over 5, at 500 for the first time since week 2, and still being right there in the mix for a playoff spot. They've had a massive turnaround after a terrible start. So that might save Brian Flores' job with them. But I'm picking the Dolphins for this one. Just don't blow that against the Jets. You can't underestimate the Jets, because you two have had close games between each other the last several years. Then a big one in the NFC East, as the football team at the Eagles. The football team won the last two. The Eagles haven't beaten them since 2019. As the football team is trying to get back to 500 after they lost to the Cowboys last week. That was a tough blow because they got to play the Cowboys next week. Especially when they needed that win to be within a game of them, so that's tough. And then you got to visit an Eagles team who is on their bye, if I remember correctly, after they played the Jets last week. So, yeah, the Eagles are definitely a better team than their record would indicate. Hell, their defense, because of the bye, is really inflated too. And remember, both your games last year were very close, so don't underestimate the Eagles football team. That's a big concern you have, and you know what? I'm actually going to pick the Eagles for this one. Both of their games last year were very close against each other. The Eagles are better than last year, so maybe this time around the Eagles will get it. Then we get to the Cardinals at the Lions for the first time since 2017. As the Lions won the last one, the Cardinals haven't beaten them since 2017, as I got the record wrong. There we go, it's fixed. So, the Cardinals, oh god, they got spanked hard by the Rams last Monday night. And if they win, or if other teams lose, they will clinch a playoff spot for the first time since 2015. So they badly need this win right here. But that was a tough loss they had against the Rams. Even though statistically they look like the most balanced team of everyone in the NFC in terms of stats. Meanwhile, the Lions, after they beat the Vikings, they got crushed by the Broncos. And of course, they are now eliminated from the playoffs. Hard to believe the worst team in the league took that long to get eliminated. As, of course, I'm picking the Cardinals for this one. This should be pretty obvious. But hey, don't underestimate the Lions. This record is a lie, remember. Alright, then it's the Panthers at the Bills for the first time since 2013. The Panthers won the last one. The Bills haven't beaten them since 2013. And the Panthers haven't won in Buffalo since 2005. So, of course, the Panthers blew it against the Falcons when they needed that victory, as they're getting close to being eliminated, but they're not there yet. Meanwhile, the Bills, a hard-fought loss against the Buccaneers. They were getting crushed at first, but then they made the comeback, which was very impressive. If anything, I thought they might have outplayed the Buccaneers during that game. But they still couldn't win, as they've now lost 2 in a row. And the season's looking very bad shape for them. But hey, at least their schedule's going to be much easier. Because their last 4 games, other than the Patriots, everyone else has a losing record. So they have a good spot still to make it into the playoffs. But it's not going to be easy still when you're in the last spot in the AFC. Very competitive AFC too, I might add. I'm picking the Bills for this one. Come on, you can't have no trouble beating the Panthers. It shouldn't be too hard. Especially when they're trying to avoid their 4th straight losing season. Alright, then we get to the 4 p.m. games. With the big one in the AFC, the Bengals at the Broncos for the first time since 2017. As the Broncos won the last one, the Bengals haven't beaten them since that 2017 game. And the Broncos haven't beaten them at home since that Monday nighter in 2015. So the Bengals, of course, lost a close one to the 49ers after they made a comeback, as they've now lost 2 in a row. And now they're out of the playoff mix again. So the season's not looking good for the Bengals after this sluggish start. Meanwhile, the Broncos crushed the Lions to get over 500 again after so many weeks, as they're trying to get back in the playoff mix as well. And their defense is playing very lights out, although their offense still needs to play better too. This is going to be an interesting one. That'll be crazy to see. But with the way the teams are playing right now, I'm actually going to pick the Broncos for this one in a possible upset, and watch the Bengals are going to prove me wrong. Then, it's another big one in the NFC, as the Falcons are at the 49ers for the first time since 2019. The Falcons won the last 2. The 49ers haven't beaten them since 2015. So, the Falcons, of course, beat the Panthers, as they're right there in the mix for the playoff spot, despite them not playing very good. So, they got to be taken seriously. Meanwhile, the 49ers got a needed victory against the Bengals after they lost to the Seahawks to still be in the playoff race, too. Very crucial for them to win this one, too. Now, they got to be careful about the Falcons, because remember, 2 years ago when the 49ers were much better and the Falcons might have been better than this, the Falcons beat them, remember, on the last-second touchdown. So you should not underestimate the Falcons. I'm going to pick the 49ers for this one, but don't underestimate the Falcons. They've been inconsistent, but hey, they're still right there in the mix. Then a big one in the NFC West, as the Seahawks are at the Rams. as the Rams won the last one. The Seahawks haven't beaten them since 2020, and they haven't won in Los Angeles since 2017, as they're still trying to avoid their first losing season since 2011 after they beat the Texans last week, and now they've won 2 in a row, still hanging in there in the playoff race. Meanwhile, the Rams got a needed, and I mean needed, victory over the Cardinals to salvage their chance to still win the NFC West. And if the Rams win, and I think a whole bunch of teams that are 6 and 7 lose, they will clinch a playoff spot for a second year in a row, along with matching their win total from last year. So they badly need this win right now, and I'm going to pick the Rams to do this. Hey, Stafford, the Seahawks have a losing record, so you should not have trouble. And then we get to a big match, outer conference matchup on paper, even though statistically it's bad, as the Packers are at the Ravens for the first time since 2013. As the Ravens won the last one, the Packers haven't beaten them since 2013, and the Ravens haven't won at home since 2005. So the Packers, of course, got the win over the Bears easily, and if they win and the Vikings lose, if they win or the Vikings lose, they will clinch a playoff spot and the NFC North for the 3rd year in a row. So it's important for them if they win this, because the division will be locked up if they win. Really need that victory after they crush the Bears, as their defense is looking really elite, although their offense is still not looking really good. Meanwhile, the Ravens, of course, have now lost 2 in a row as they got crushed. Although it doesn't look like they got crushed, to me they did against the Browns, as they now lost 2 in a row. Now their division title right now is looking on the line right now. They better be thankful that the Bengals are struggling too, and they better hope the Browns and Steelers don't make a big comeback. And of course, Lamar Jackson got injured last week, and of course, who knows if he's going to be playing this week. But to be honest, I really don't think it's going to matter if Lamar Jackson even does play, because he's just not playing good this year. I'm sorry, it's just so obvious. And then they got to go up against an elite Packers defense. And then you still got to worry about Aaron Rodgers. He might not be playing as good this year as he did last year, but he's still a player you got to watch out for. So I'm going to pick the Packers for this, even if Lamar's playing. And then we get to a big one on Sunday night, as it's the Saints at the Buccaneers. As the Saints won the last 6, the Buccaneers haven't beaten them since 2018, and they haven't won at home since 2017. As the Saints got that needed victory over the Jets to finally end their 5-game losing streak. But now they got to go up against a team that they last beat too, before Jameis Winston went down. And it's not going to be easy for him, as they got to go up against the Buccaneers, who are trying to match their win total from last year after they beat the Bills in a blown game they had last week. And the Buccaneers, if they win here against the Saints, they will clinch a playoff spot for the 2nd year in a row, and they will clinch the NFC South for the first time since 2007. So this is huge for them. And of course, although they got to take the Saints seriously though, because remember, they did beat them last time earlier this year on Halloween, and that was without Winston for most of the game. Freaking Trevor Siemian beat their ass. So they should not underestimate the Saints, especially now that they've ended their 5-game losing streak. But this time around, I'm going to pick the Buccaneers for this one. They got too much momentum on their side since that Halloween game between the two. And then we get to Monday night, a big one in the NFC North, as the Vikings are at the Bears. The Bears won the last one. The Vikings haven't beaten them since 2020, and the Bears haven't won at home since 2019. Alright, so the Vikings are trying to get back to 500 after they almost choked against the Steelers last week. You were up 29-0. That was barely even enough to hold on for the win. As they're trying to get above 500, of course, they need to win to keep up with the Packers in the NFC North, since they're the only one left that could challenge their division title. Meanwhile, the Bears got crushed by the Packers as they had their first losing season since 2017. And if they lose to the Vikings, and I think one other 6 and 17 wins, they will be eliminated from the playoffs eliminated from the playoffs. So they badly need this win too. Now, of course, you would think it would be easy to pick the Vikings, but they're inconsistent as hell, as we've seen. But they've always stayed around 500, so you could say maybe they have a chance. But they've also struggled against the Bears when they visit them too. Even though they've been the better team the last few years, they've always struggled when they visited the Bears, which is quite impressive to say the least. But I'm going to pick the Vikings for this one, but I guess I won't be surprised if the Bears get it because the Vikings always struggle against them when they visit them. And for the love of God, NFL, can you stop putting us on Monday night? They've been on Monday night, this matchup, 4 times since 2016. Enough. It's not that good of a matchup, just like the Packers-Bears ones on Sunday night all the time. Alright, so those are my picks for Week 15. I cannot wait for Chiefs and Chargers tonight. So my picks wrap it up. The Chiefs over the Chargers, Browns over the Raiders, Patriots over the Colts, Cowboys over the Giants, Cowboys over the Giants. I think I said it again twice, my mistake. Jaguars over the Texans, Steelers over the Titans, Dolphins over the Jets, Eagles over the football team, Cardinals over the Lions, Bills over the Broncos. Not Broncos, Bills over the Panthers. Broncos over the Bengals, 49ers over the Falcons, Rams over the Seahawks, Packers over the Ravens, Buccaneers over the Saints, and Vikings over the Bears. So, see you guys next week, which I'm pretty sure is a Thursday night game next week. So, see you guys next Thursday.